everyone, and welcome back to The Late Show. Today we will have some special guests to talk about what has been happening with the economy recently. Today we have Juliana Araujo, who is currently working as the Communications Director for the Trump administration. We also have with us one of New York's most successful stock traders, Michael Lucas. Last but not least, we have Emma Van Riper, the Director of the nonprofit Gillespie Center. Nice to be here with you all today. There's always a lot of controversy over the president's decisions. So what is your guys' approval of Trump's presidency to date?
Basically, Trump, I like how he speaks freely and he's not bound by political correctness. I support what he's done, and I think he's improved the stock market and he's improved the economy as a whole.
I am and have always been a huge supporter of Trump's policies, and I think the president has been great for our country, but especially the economy. We've seen this through his corporate tax breaks, the record-breaking unemployment numbers, and not to mention the GDP reaching 4.1%, something that the Democrats and the media claim could never be done.
The fact of the matter is that all of President Trump's successes are 100% continuation of President Obama's miraculous turnaround of the economy financial crisis in 2008. President Obama built such an incredible foundation. President Trump could not ruin the successful trajectory. Therefore, I just don't agree with Trump's values.
Personally, I do not agree with the majority of Trump's decisions. For example, Juliana, you said briefly before that President Trump is helping our country and the economy with his tax breaks. While I do not see any upside to any of these tax breaks. Trump posted a tweet that states, "Tax cuts will increase investment in the American economy and in U.S. workers, leading to higher growth, higher wages, and more jobs." What is your guys' response to this tweet?
It's such a typical Republican response to cut taxes and help corporations pay less taxes to be more profitable and for stock market investors to just get more rich. Meanwhile, this leaves the citizens that are most needy without the money to pay for the food, housing, job training, education, assistance, and health insurance that they really need.
Well, Emma, I believe that as a Democrat, you should be in favor of Trump's tax cuts, so they actually give the money back to the people. And as Trump tweeted before, his tax reform has achieved goals that you yourself and other Democrats are in favor of. And not to mention, Apple and other huge companies have held billions in cash overseas under the Obama administration when the tax rate was 35%. Now with Trump, they're able to bring all that money back to the U.S. with a much lower and reasonable tax rate, around 8 and 15.5%, according to Vox last year. This not only boosts the economy, but getting back to your argument, a large chunk of the money is now being brought back to our government and to fund all the programs that you care so much about.
I agree with Emma. The extra money that companies are getting from these tax cuts do not help government funding for those programs, and they also are not helping the workers pay for these necessities on their own. According to CNBC, studies showed that right after tax cuts, the money was going to workers through bonuses and such. But in recent studies, the extra money from the tax cuts were going to things like paying for higher dividends to shareholders and being used to increase capital investments at a faster rate. There's no incentive for companies to raise the wage of their workers because it just makes their payroll go up in the long run.
The extra money that the companies have will ultimately benefit the company because they're able to improve the quality of the service or good that they provide. And also, this is essentially like a subsidy, and that'll lead to an increase in production of the good or service, not only the quality, which will raise the stock price to help shareholders. But this doesn't only help businessmen, this can also help blue-collar workers, as their wages could be increased, their working conditions, a lot of other things. So this extra money for companies is actually very beneficial in a lot of different ways.
But that extra money is not necessarily guaranteed to go to those blue-collar workers' wages or working conditions. Those companies receiving the tax cuts could just pocket the extra money for profit. Perhaps the government should have put in some type of law to require some of the extra money from the tax breaks to go to the benefits for workers.
That's a fair point, but I see it that it will come out differently, as not only will working conditions and wages be increased, the amount of jobs overall can also be increased. If the company is in need of more people working for them, they'll be able to hire more people with this extra money, which will lead to just a higher functioning economy. And Trump and I share the belief in his tweet, as he stated, that a decrease in taxes will allow more money that will fuel the economy, because after all, the economy is just the exchange of money throughout society. So if there's more money in companies, this will allow buyers to receive better goods and keep buying it, and just the exchange of money is the economy, so it'll function at a better rate.
Yes, there will be more money in the economy, but that's only if the companies decide to spend that money instead of pocketing it. So workers are not guaranteed for this extra money to trickle down to them, which only increases the gap between the middle/low class, which is the blue collar workers, and the high class, which is the people who own the companies. And so speaking of this, one of you mentioned before that Trump's tax cuts, and during his presidency overall, he has done things to help lower the unemployment rate. What are these beneficial actions you see him doing?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that Donald Trump has done a lot for unemployment, and we've seen record-breaking numbers to prove it. The U.S. Department of Labor reported this past October that the unemployment rate hit a low of 3.7%, the lowest we've seen since 1969. And regardless of which aisle of the side you're on, a low unemployment rate helps all Americans. A report from the Chicago Tribune this past spring showed that minorities especially have been positively affected, with a black unemployment rate of 6.6% and 4.8% for Latinos, both record low numbers. Trump promised to bring back jobs when he was campaigning, and he delivered.
I disagree with that. As the following graphs from a Forbes study show, it's obvious that the unemployment is at record lows, but it is far from obvious that we can attribute this to President Trump's success. What I think is much more obvious is that President Trump's unemployment trajectory is a mere extension of the previous years, 8 successful years of continued lowering of unemployment by President Obama. Clearly, Trump is just finishing what Obama started.
I strongly disagree with that. I think all of what Trump has done, none of it can be attributed to Obama's success, because pretty much the moment that Trump got into office, he instantly began to repeal things that Obama had put in place. And a Time magazine study showed that there was 96 executive actions that have already passed that repealed something that Obama had put in place. So Trump's basically just trying to take the things that he disagrees with back. So basically, if Trump's changing so much about Obama's type of presidency, then how can the success be attributed to Obama? And then also, sorry to interrupt you there, but during Obama's presidency, the labor force participation rate fell, which most definitely hurt the unemployment. And as seen in Trump's presidency, the unemployment rate is at an all-time low. So if Obama made it rise and Trump's making the rate decrease, then Trump must be doing a good job, and it must have nothing to do with Obama, or little to do with Obama.
Although the participation rate fell at the very beginning of Obama's presidency, at least he worked to get it back up during Trump's presidency. Though the participation rate still has not changed from Obama's.
That's true, but at least Trump is keeping it at a constant rate, whereas Obama, there was a 3% decline.
That's all the time we have today. Thank you guys for coming out and being on the show, sharing your opinions, and thank you for tuning in. See you guys next time.